5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
I'm so sorry that I had a screwed up opening there, but I had to do it again. Hey everybody, it's Alex Bennett. It is the Ramble. I screw up on stuff, and then I just want to get a clean start on the program for the recording that we make of it. So here we are. There we go. Let me see here. What are we going to do? Oh, yeah, we're going to go talk to an old friend of ours. Ladies and gentlemen, always a pleasure to talk to the inimitable Larry Bubbles Brown. Yay!
And always a pleasure to talk to the great Alex Bennett.
Yay!
Whose wide-ranging knowledge is amazing.
Well,
as long as I've known you, I think we're both, I assume we're both kind of atheistic, agnostic, but I've never really talked to you about religion. I always want to get your take on that.
Well, I mean, religion, as Karl Marx once said, is the opiate of the people. And I think no truer statement has been made, to be very honest with you. You know, it's a pacifier. And it's also a con job for people to make money. I mean, why does a priest have a job? Because somebody believes in God. And if they stop believing in God, he's out of work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a doctor who's got to find something wrong with you so he can keep making money. You know, so he has you come back and you do confession, or you do this, or you do that. I don't believe in God. People always ask me, do you believe in God? And I went, no, but I believe in science. You know, I believe there is a wonder and majesty to the universe, which is pretty unexplainable because it's so huge and so vast. And so many years have passed to create just this little planet. Took several billion years, all right? So that being the case, I realize there is something in the universe that's bigger than we are, but I don't think it's a sentient being called God. Right.
It's incredible to me that so many people just fall into these fairy tales, basically what they are, all religions. And
yeah. I just had to go close the door. My door is open and we have guests staying, so I had to close it. What were you saying about so many people? What?
So many people buy into these fairy tales. It's incredible to me. I think it's partly because people know they're going to die and they can't accept that, and they have to think there's something after this.
Well, I don't know that there isn't something after this, but I don't know what it is exactly. You know, and it's not that I want to keep existing. That's not the point here. Okay. It has to do with what is it? How can I put it? It has to do with the fact. Well, let me give you an example. There's a show called The Planets, and it's on the BBC, and they talk about the creation of the planets, and they throw off terms like 4 billion years ago, like it was spare change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 4 billion years ago, Mars was created because blah, 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 blah. What happened was there were all these little particles of dust that came together and made boulders, and then those boulders made bigger boulders, and they clashed into each other, and eventually we had planets. And that process took 2 billion years. Okay? So I'm watching all of this. I'm going, to begin with, how insignificant am I? You know, my lifespan up till now is 79 years, and we're talking about 2 billion years to create a planet. So I'm pretty insignificant. You know, I'm just a passing dust particle in this whole thing. So as I'm watching this, I'm going, well, then, where do I fit into this? You know, and somebody, I'm trying to remember who now, said we are made of the stuff of stars. You know, We are part of all of this, and when we leave this, we go back to that. Somehow that makes a little bit of sense,
Yeah.
I don't know what my cosmic being is going to be. I think he's going to be a hypochondriac, that's for damn sure. But I don't know, what happens when we die? Well, I don't understand not existing. I can't cope with that. Okay? And my father, I always like to tell this. I had said to my father once that I was afraid of death, and I couldn't understand what it was like. And he said, well, you've been there before. Exactly. He said, before you were born, you didn't exist. And eventually you will not exist any longer. So you know what it's like not to exist. And so for the rest of my life, I worried about what it was like before I was born. So... But, that makes a lot of sense. We were all there once before. We were that, and now we're going back to it again. Now, is there reincarnation? Well, if there is reincarnation, you're not aware of it. So, like if I was reincarnated, I don't know that. So, am I then aware that it's just, I don't know. I just don't have an answer to it. But I don't believe in God as they believe in God. Okay, so I hate what people win Academy Awards, and I want to thank God for this.
And when they win a football game.
Yeah, I want to thank God. Like God is watching a fucking football game and cares about you running down a field to cheering thousands. Okay, no, God doesn't give a shit about that. He's got more important things to do, like try and solve the problem of why he fucked up with the prostate. So
the poor. There's been many. The human body actually is very poorly designed in many ways. So God should answer for that.
Yeah, he should answer for my prostate problems now. The fact that at 80, my age, there's a 70% chance I have prostate cancer, and it looks like I probably do. No big deal. It's very slow growing. It's a different cancer than any other kind of cancer. But nevertheless, hey, God, to begin with, you put that prostate there, which is a donut-shaped organ, and in the middle of it, you put the urethra where your pee goes through. And as you get older, it enlarges and squeezes on that, and you have to pee like every 5 minutes. What was with that construction, God, if you're so almighty and so all-knowing? Wouldn't you have just moved the prostate over a couple of inches?
That's worse design than GM on their 80s cars.
I want my, and there's no warranty on this. There's no warranty, So, what? But tell me about your non-belief in God and what you think happens to us when we die.
Oh, I'd say pretty much what you think. It'd just be non-existence, and
yeah, but
I've had a couple dreams where I've died, and I'm
really?
like I'm floating through space and slowly decaying, and it's very cold, and the dream was actually it wasn't reassuring. I didn't like it.
That is really a Larry Bubbles Brown dream, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had that one twice.
You've had that one. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh. That's terrible, Larry.
Yeah, and just getting colder and colder and darker and horrible.
Wow. I've never had that dream. Never had a dream about, what it's like after I'm dead. So, you're very fortunate that you've had that dream. Is it a nightmare, or is there something about it?
It's not scary, but it's also not reassuring. So,
well, wouldn't that be terrible if you're going through space and you're slowly decaying?
Yeah.
Well, then again, that's what happens here during life. So,
we're slowly decaying.
Oh, I'm slowly.
Or rapidly in my case.
I've got the neuropathy in my feet, and I've got the teeth that are having problems and having to be worked on, and I've got the possible prostate cancer, and I'm slowly decaying. I'm slowly falling apart. I had a friend of mine this last weekend, Jack Garfine, who at 88 got married,
wow.
and he could barely walk. All right, and I'm about to hit 80. That mean 8 years from now, that's going to be my fate. that it's going to be like that. So maybe I don't want to get older. Maybe eventually death is a welcome relief. That's what I'm.
Somebody said that, who was some famous columnist who was dying, and he said sometimes he looked on death as a kindly uncle.
As a kindly uncle?
Take him away from all this crap.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Kindly uncle.
Kindly Uncle Death.
Kindly Uncle Death. Yeah, but, and I have a lot. I'm sure you lately have had a lot of people who die. Once you start reaching 60, you start.
Once you get over 60, and then as the years go by, it's just going to accelerate the number of people they're dying.
A lot of deaths really bothered me, but the one that bothered me the most is a woman who died who I had fucked. I don't know, for some reason, that got to me, I was once having sex with this woman, and now she's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other ones that bother me a lot because they're people that are close to me, but that particularly made me feel as though I wasn't getting any younger. That was for damn sure. And she died in her sleep. She had a heart attack, However, you know the story about Bob Rubin, don't you?
I've heard this story. I didn't know it was true or not.
Our friend Bob Rubin, the comedian, was having sex with a woman one night, and she had a heart attack during the act and died right while he was fucking her.
Okay, that's actually true.
It's actually true.
Wow. Okay, I thought it was just a bit he was doing.
I said, how did that affect you? He said, well, I was put off on that for a couple of years, It gives a whole new perspective, I guess, to having sex with somebody, Either that or you, I said to him, here's what one guy says to another one. And I heard that story. I said, did you come first? And he went, well, yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I don't know. But also, isn't there a certain pride you can take is that you fucked a woman to death? That...
Literally fucked her brains out.
Hey, I may have been affected by that, and it may have been a terrible thing, but look at what I did,
That's such a great story.
Yeah, no, it's a terrific story. Are you kidding me? It's the best. But anyway, so, here we are talking about death, and I have people I know. I mean, like this guy Jack is 88. Heck, I may get a call tomorrow. Hey, Jack's no longer with us. I mean, he's 88. And as we get older, the people we know are older, so they start dying off. But a lot of them go younger than we are. Like my friend Dennis Hoff, who owned the Moonlight Bunny Ranch, died at 62. I guess they found him in his room dead. He just had a heart attack while he was sleeping. I guess the majority of people have heart attacks. It's while they're sleeping.
Yeah. Partly because of the sleep apnea.
That could be. But anyway, the point is that when that happened, I went, well, gee, he's awfully young. That amazes me. And we had a friend, you and I, Robert Schimmel. Schimmel was a classic case of dying. How do you have a classic case of dying? Well, let me explain this to you, folks. Robert Schimmel had everything wrong with him you could possibly have wrong with you. I mean, he wrote a book called Cancer on $5 a day. He had any number of types of cancers, which he beat, okay? And then he was having kidney problems, and he was waiting on getting a kidney transplant when his daughter takes him out for a drive and plows the car into a tree, and he dies.
Yeah, the car that he had bought for her.
Yeah, but think about that for a second. He had all these other things. He had this, and his life was in turmoil. He had a son who died at like 15 because he had some kind of disease that he constantly went on the road to make money, to pay the doctors, to get him help, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it is one of the most tragic lives. It starts out with his parents who survived a concentration camp, okay? And of all the things that could get him, and all the things that were preying upon him, the thing that got him was his daughter driving into a tree.
Yeah.
Go figure, Somebody
should do a movie about his life. It was so interesting.
Yeah, so... Anyway, is this uplifting, folks? If you're listening, do you enjoy
Well,
this?
there's been some very. You and I were always kind of fascinated by death. I mean, so was Woody Allen. So there's some good minds like to talk about it.
No, I don't. I'm not fascinated by it. I fear it. And most of Woody Allen's work always contained that fear of dying. You know, I think. Did I read somewhere they said he finally has come to terms with it? That as he's
I hadn't heard
older,
that. I'd like to read that.
Maybe that's why his movies aren't as good as they used to be. I don't know. You know, but I mean, he was one who supposedly had a paralyzing fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, and look how old he is now. So he's lived long enough. You know, I mean, if I go tomorrow, hey, 79 ain't bad. You know, but I'd like it to be 150. You know, or as my wife puts it, I want to live long enough to see Trump out of office. So, you know, imagine having to die and Trump's still president. That's not good.
That could happen.
That could happen. Well, I have my ex-wife, Ronnie, is dying, literally dying. She has cancer, and we don't know how long she's going to live. But then again, you know, what's really strange is that if you fear death, it's because you know you don't know when you're going to die. But when you know that you are dying, she's almost my age, so she doesn't know how long she has. In spite of the fact that she knows she's dying, you get what I'm saying? So it's kind of the same as you and me. I could tomorrow come down with something and die before she dies of the cancer she's got. So. You know, I often say to her, you know, how do you feel about this? She says, well, I don't know, you know, how long I've got. You know, doctors say it could be this, it could be that. We don't know. We'll see. You know. So, I mean, aren't you the one that said you want to know when?
Wouldn't it be neat if you knew what day you were going to die, but not the year?
Yeah, that's it. Not the year. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how long I've got, but you know, as I get older, as I reach this age, I start seeing that process happening to me, and it depresses me. I mean, if I'm alone in a room at night and Marjorie is asleep, I've never told her this, I go into a panic over this. Mm-hmm. You know. I mean, I'm spending the rest of my life being depressed over the fact that I'm going to die soon. Now, soon for me, well, soon could be 1 minute. Soon could be another 20 years. My mother died at 100. But nevertheless, that's sooner than a lot of people who are like 30 are looking at being soon. You know? So it's who knows? But a belief in God, I'm jealous of people who believe in God. Because they've got an out. You know, they're comforted by this whole notion that, oh, well, if I die, I'm going to go see Uncle Bob again, and Aunt Mary, and, you know, and Cousin Susan. You know, so that's nice they have that. I don't have that. You don't have that.
No, but you're right, though. If you did have that and truly believed it, you probably would be very happy.
Oh, hey, I'm dying.
But we're not buying it.
Goodbye, I'm going to see your mother, you know, or I'm going to see Aunt Maud. And it's been nice, kids. Goodbye. You know, the death rattle. I told you the story about my friend Marshall Efron, who, and I don't even know if he's still alive, but Marshall Efron, who for years was trying to get on the Dick Cavett show and couldn't quite pull it off until one day they booked him on the Dick Cavett show. So he goes on the Dick Cavett show, and he's on there with this guy named Rodale, who wrote books on how to live longer and so on.
Oh yeah, I know this story.
And while Efron is being interviewed by Cavett and Rodale is on the couch next to him, all of a sudden they hear this weird sound, which is known as a death rattle. It's supposedly some expulsion of air that you give when you die. And they look over, and Rodale is dead. They cancel the show. They don't broadcast it. And they never invite Marshall back because they consider him bad luck.
He's bad luck.
So, what's worse than death? It's getting banned from the Cavett show because you sat next to somebody who was inconsiderate and died. And the guy just giving a speech about here's how you're going to be able to live longer. Oh, good. I think he was the head of Prevention Magazine, was the magazine that he ran. And, when guys go like that, like when Jim Fixx went, remember Jim Fixx, the runner?
Right.
And he did this thing on Jim Fixx running. And if you run, you will live longer, blah, blah, blah. Dies running. I felt
jogging, yes.
I felt really good about that one. He
did the guy that invented the power bar died while jogging. So.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Do you jog? You run?
Yes, I'm going to run after this. This could be our last talk. I don't know.
Yeah, you run. How many days a week do you run?
Every other day, so like four a week.
4 a week. Okay. Do you think that's having any negative effect upon your body?
I think it's pounding my joints pretty badly. Yeah.
Yeah. So running is not the healthiest pastime you could take up.
Probably not. I would think the more I'm reading, I think probably walking is better than running.
Riding a bicycle?
Yeah, that's bad for your prostate.
Is it bad for your prostate? Really?
The seat puts a lot of pressure. It makes there were some guys that were reporting they were impotent. Young guys reporting they were impotent because it puts so much pressure on that nerve in around the prostate. area.
It's interesting, but my PSA has gone up since I have been working out, and I do the cycle. That's all I do. Do 25 minutes.
That could be it. That seat puts a lot of pressure in that area.
Yeah, it could be, yeah, but that could be cause and effect. Yeah, could be, but what the hell? So the running, so you don't know that the running is not necessarily adding to your life, as it were?
It's it keeps the weight off and it's lowered the cholesterol, so it's good for that.
Oh, it's good for that. Yeah, it's good for the heart.
Good for the heart, just the knees and the.
But there are a lot of other exercising you could do that's non-impact.
Yeah.
That would probably be just as good.
I used to swim, which actually adds fat to your body, so that was not good.
Well, it does. No, it does, but it adds muscle, not fat.
It adds an extra because your body, because you submerge yourself in cold water, it starts to develop an extra layer of fat.
Have you ever noticed people who do that? That they swimmers they have the swimmer's body. Have you ever noticed it? It's very unique. And I used to have swimmer's body because I used to swim a lot. Now I have old man falling apart body.
Old man falling apart body.
Yeah. So everybody, this is where you laugh. Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, I think we're star stuff. I think there's something to that. I look at the universe and I go, I'm just such a, what I don't understand is why a guy like Donald Trump doesn't understand that he, in the total scheme of things, is insignificant.
Right.
That this planet still has at least another billion years in it before it falls apart. And that he is just such a grain of sand in that time that he doesn't matter.
Well, that reminds me of the ones John Lovitz was grousing at Carvey about his career, and Carvey said, "John, do you realize after today there's going to be another billion years?" And Lovitz goes, "Well, then this means nothing."
Yes, it means nothing. And then you're an individual component, so it means even less. How many people do we have on the planet Earth right now? So you take that little grain of sand and you separate it into all those people. So why do we even care about a Donald Trump, and why does he care about being king of the world? I don't understand it. It'd be something that we just don't even, So watch that program on space. I think it's on now in various areas.
Planets?
The planets.
Okay.
And you just sit there and you're in awe of the fact that all this happened over billions of years, and that you're here for, 80 years? 75
A flash.
years? Oh, it's a flash in the pan. And so let's not take ourselves that seriously.
Right.
And let's spend the time we have here having a good time. Have you had a good time, Bubs?
1 year out of 10, maybe.
I'm asking the wrong guy if he's having fun.
I did find a great place where you and I should retire. There's a place in Southern California called Mount Disappointment.
Really?
Yes. I looked at it on the map. I fell over.
Mount Disappointment?
Mount Disappointment.
Look, find out where it is. Let's see if there's any property available. We have to buy a lot there just to say we own a lot on Mount Disappointment. Only you would find that.
I know. I just was looking at a map and saw it. It jumped out at me. It's Southern California.
Hey, listen, we've run out of time, Bubs.
Well, it's great talking about death and disappointment.
Well, whenever I call you, you have something that you start me talking about.
Yeah.
And this time it was death, and I feel so much better about death now.
It's been very cathartic.
No, I don't feel better about death. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown. Thank you, Larry.
Talk to you soon, Alex.
5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Well, I screwed up again. See, I'm screwing up too much. I've got to quit this whole thing because I keep screwing up, and I don't like screwing up. It's not good to screw up, okay? And what happened is usually when I do an interview with Larry, we put this up, okay? But I forgot to put it up. So what you got instead was that. And that will come back to me. Okay. Anyway. Let me open up the lines here. I don't know. The whole beginning of the show screwed up because I was trying to do something else at the same time that I was doing the opening of the show, and I didn't push the buttons at the right time, and I found out that I was actually recording the show, but I wasn't streaming it, and I just had to start all over again. So please excuse me, folks, if I suck. Okay. Anyway, the phone lines are open, so now I can just wait for you to call, and we can talk about stuff, if you want to. I'm tired tonight again. It's a medicine that I'm taking for the feet, for the numbness in the feet, and it just makes me tired, and it makes me, I have to do simple tasks here, and it doesn't allow me to do that. So maybe I have to quit drugs and just live in pain. It's not narcotic or anything like that. It's not like I'm not on hydrocodone or anything like that. I'm just it's gabapentin, and it muddles me. So that's why I screwed up the beginning of the show. Nobody's going to call? Because if you're not going to call, I'm just going to go. Because I'm tired as hell. I would rather sleep, I think, than do this show. Oh, well. Jeff Stein ruined it for me. Yeah. Let me see here. Here comes Jeff. Jeff, I was almost going to go home and, well, I am home. I was almost going to quit and just call it an evening. Oh, wait a minute, I don't need you there. Oh, because I've already got you there. Okay, well, we'll just do it that way. Okay, all right, there we go. Hello, Jeff. How are you this evening?
I'm doing very good right now.
You really are?
Yeah, I'm very happy.
You're
doubling.
Something's happened. No, I'm done. You're not hearing. I don't know
Yeah,
what you're hearing.
why are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine.
Okay.
You were breaking up a little bit. Hold on a second. Here, much to our disdain, comes Phil Meyer. Let me see here. There he is. And then we add him to the crowd. There we go. Hello there, Phil. Yes, what were you saying, Jeff?
Yes, I'm very happy. I was thinking about my wife today, how important she is to me sometimes.
Really?
Yep.
That's sweet. That's nice. That's really good. Marjorie, Marjorie and I just got through having a 3-day spat. So, but you probably have had those too.
Once, maybe twice. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, really?
A week. Twice a week, twice a day.
Well, when I'm depressed about stuff, I go into like a cocoon, and then I kind of take it out on her, and I really shouldn't, But then again, I keep telling her, don't take it personally, and she takes it personally. So,
how come you can't choose not to be depressed? Why can't you choose not to be depressed?
Well, because it affects the people around me.
Well, you choose to be depressed, and that affects the people around you. You could also choose not to be depressed.
Yes, but I sometimes I can't help it, and that's why I need a shrink.
Well, we're not like snakes where you step on a snake and it bites you. We're people, and we have power over our reactions.
No, quit. Why all of a sudden are you becoming new agey on us?
Well, because it's the way I live.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
could beat me over with a stick on that one.
Well, it is,
Oh, what am I supposed to? I'm not taking you on as my guru, okay?
Well, have you ever read The Four Agreements by Ruiz?
No.
Well, isn't it about time you did?
No, is it porn?
Yes.
Okay, well then tell me where I can find it, and I'll jerk off to it.
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe in any of that. What I used to call newage stuff rhymes with sewage.
Well, you can't lose anything by trying a different paradigm shift.
Paradigm.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I don't like being depressed. I don't like being that way. But I am.
I mean, if you think New Age stuff is bullshit, and I don't consider it New Age. I just consider it. I'm in control of how I choose to react. And you are too. And you're just choosing to react in one way.
You obviously haven't learned how to control it.
Well, what do you mean? Hey, if I reacted in such a way that it was negative to me, why would I call a show? The things that go on don't bother me because I choose not to let them bother me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway. So how did you do with your photo thing, your photo club?
I beat them so bad.
These are a bunch of... Let me explain to people. He goes to this photo club, and the photo club is populated by guys who are in their 80s, okay? And he comes in with photographs he took when he was a teenager, and then he uses them in competition. And then he's so happy because he beats the shit out of them.
I'm living off my shark photos, which I did in March. Now, what happened was they moved me up. They took me out of basic, and they moved me up two ranks to advanced. And last night's competition, everybody that competed was in the advanced stage. That was the highest level you could have.
It sounds like you all have some dread disease.
Yes, well, it was the highest level.
You're in the advanced stage of that disease.
The highest level you could have for nature.
Yeah.
And not only did I come in number one,
Oh.
I also got best of show. And
so did the Dalmatian at the Kennel Club show here in New York.
Well, for each of these competitions, twice a month, we have a professional judge that comes in, and they blindly, assess the different photographs, and then they judge them as to which is number 1, 2, 3, which is best of show. Mm-hmm. And I got number 1, best of show.
Mm-hmm. And that competed against what? Some old guy with a picture of his niece's birthday party?
No. There was some great stuff there. One guy spends thousands. He goes all over the world. Mm-hmm. He hires these guides. They take him to places to get some of the best shots in the world, and he can afford it, And I was up against all sorts of guys like that in nature. I was even up against my landlord for the store, and he took third.
Your landlord for the store is one of the people who does this with you?
Yes.
Shit. Maybe get serious.
Oh, boy.
He has.
So
you look at the guy.
And my operations manager, who I was introduced to by the landlord about 6 or 7 years ago, also participates. Although he put his cat down Wednesday, so he, after 14 years, he had to put the cat to sleep.
I had the same thing. I had to put my cat down, and what I did, I just told him he wasn't as good as the dog.
Yeah, well, he was taking it pretty hard, and so he went to the veterinarian. He took the day off. He went to the veterinarian. He brought the cat home and hung out with the cat for a few hours.
Last night we were talking about Schrodinger's cat.
Yes, I heard. God, was that boring? But
No, it wasn't boring. I thought it was scintillating.
Oh,
And
so
nobody was here to hear about Schrodinger's cat.
It sounded like what's that thing that they do where the guy builds some sort of contraption that this falls down, that falls down.
No, the basic of the Schrodinger cat experiment is that if you have a cat and you put him in a box with cyanide, I forget what the three things were, but three things that will kill the cat.
It was I think they said a radioactive
particle
isotope or something that falls, that has a half-life.
And you put them all in the box with the cat, and you don't open the box. Now there's a possibility that cat is alive, or there's a possibility that the cat is dead. But as long as you don't open the box, he's neither.
No, are you telling me if a tree falls in the forest that doesn't make any noise? Is that your deal?
It's that kind of deal, yeah.
Yeah, I think if the tree falls, it makes noise. You're just not there to hear it.
You were just upset because you tuned in this program and you heard that we were actually having an intelligent discussion because you weren't there.
That was intelligent?
Yeah, very.
No, it sounded elitist to me. That's what it sounded like. Oh, wait a minute, I can participate in that. Give me a second.
What?
It's hard putting an animal down.
Huh? Yeah, because my cat did not like being compared to the dog.
It was tough, I know.
You don't get the joke? You don't get the joke?
Yeah, I get the joke.
What's with the pipe? That'll kill you, Phil.
Well, that's because we're talking about elitist, intelligent things. If I had long sleeves on, maybe I'd have one of those leather patches on the bottom of my smoking jacket.
It's Mr. Howell. Mr. Howell. They had everything for one day. You're going for 3 hours, guy.
All right, now it's your turn. You guys talk. I had enough.
Do they have video in your class?
They do have projected, not video. They either do. I don't do much projected. I like to print, so I'm the print chair, so I have to be there to organize the prints, put them up on the viewer, and read the title.
How many people are in this club?
There's about 180 that belong, and maybe there's 40 that participate.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it goes from this club, it goes to N4C, and this is an organization of 14 other clubs like this, and then you compete. Matter of fact, I got a second in N4C for my another shark.
You know something?
Shot.
This is more boring than Schrodinger's cat.
Nothing could be more boring than Schrodinger's cat.
Put Phil in the box, see what happens.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, geez.
I called it the Shark Highway, and it's just a bunch of sharks that kept going around in a circle.
Phil, how many frames did you have to shoot to get that?
I probably have 100 good shots out of the 1,000 that I took.
Well, I'm saying,
but,
see, here's the thing I found years ago. What I did is when I started shooting video, I found that I could freeze frame, and then I would freeze frame it and turn it into a photograph, and everybody would go, "Great photograph," and I go, "Well, I got a 1 out of every 30 per second chance of getting a decent photograph."
Well, when you're photographing something that's moving, like a shark,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't get the right perspective on it. And when you're photographing wildlife, you don't want the hand of man in it. So I needed to be able to crop in such a way that there was
back to
nothing other than the
Schrodinger's
wildlife.
cat. Oh boy, I'm getting drowsy now.
Those are the rules, right?
Those are the rules, right?
Yeah. You know what the number one rule in Photo Club is?
Showing up.
Never mention Photo Club.
Take your pictures.
Well, it's nice when you get someone that is a professional that analyzes your stuff and can give you hints as how you can improve it. And
And it's nice you get to talk to people about the hobbies like. So it's probably it's a healthy thing, though. I think
yeah.
The common interest.
Until somebody brings a gun to it and shoots everybody
So let's
dead.
get Phil.
Well,
Can he let us
only because I keep winning.
win once, though? I mean, you don't want to.
Yeah. Well, if he loses, he's taking that gun the next time.
Well, I'm going shooting Sunday.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What are you going to go?
A friend of mine does executive protection for some of the executives at Larry Ellison's thing, and he's going to Africa.
Larry
on
Ellison,
Tuesday.
what an asshole he is.
Well, he's flying to Africa on Tuesday.
And Africa gets to have an asshole over there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, where they what do you call it? Where they practice, it's this place about 1.5 miles off the road with nothing around. So we're going there. It's fun. It's all set up with targets and these metal targets that you can shoot.
I'll tell you the best target shooting that I've ever been involved in is years ago when they first started Burning Man.
Yeah.
They had because it's in the Black Rock Desert, which is the largest piece of flat land in the entire United States. Okay.
I've never been there, but I've seen pictures.
You can drive from one end of it to the other at night, turn off your headlights, and just put the thing on auto and just sit there and wait for 40 minutes before you're going to hit anything. Anyway, the point is...
There's no cactus, no rocks?
Nothing. It's like the
No
surface
people sleeping in sleeping bags?
Well, they did have, and some people got killed sleeping in the sleeping bags because a car rolled right over them. But anyway, this was in the early days of
Burning Man.
Burning Man. I think it was year 3 that they were up there. And they had a thing which was very famous, and they loved having it, called the drive-by shooting range. And what you would do is you'd go out to this area, and they had all these stuffed animals and everything, and you then would drive by and shoot your gun out the window and shoot at the targets.
What they have for a backdrop?
The whole desert. But anyway, but they stopped it after about the 4th year, I think, because they felt
I would think that's a good idea.
Why?
To stop that.
I think it's a great idea. That was the best. I love the drive-by shooting range.
Well, you want to be sure of your backstop. You want to berm. You don't want to take a chance that somebody's a half mile out there and gets
Phil,
whacked.
I just told you this is the largest amount of just empty land in the United States, and over on in one area they had the drive-by shooting range where there was nobody within miles.
Well,
Don't
sounds like fun.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like fun to you.
Did you shoot?
No. Somebody with me had a gun, though, and they were shooting. So,
Yeah.
But I thought that was fun. I thought the only thing missing in the drive-by shooting range were some politicians sitting there. But,
Yeah. Well, that's why I like shooting at metal, because when you hit it, it makes a noise.
Yeah.
And,
You know
and
what? Here's excitement. I finally think I've done it.
Yeah.
So,
I finally have gotten my ice maker in my refrigerator working.
All right.
Wow. Do you know?
Last night, let me finish.
yeah.
Last night, there was this thing the inside you can adjust, and I adjusted it more to the plus side, and I did it too much, and water came spurting out of the place because too much water was going into the tray, into the automatic ice tray. So I learned. I pulled it back so it stopped doing that. And now it makes nice big chunks of ice, something it hasn't done in the 8 years or something that we've been here. I've finally got the thing making decent ice. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
And if anybody has problems with their ice maker, give me a call. I'll come over. I'll fix it for you.
Do you know that about half of my business comes from insurance companies? Mm-hmm. And at one point, I thought that I'd get personalized plates that said ice maker. And the reason being is that they were keeping me in business. Mm-hmm. Ice makers fail quite a bit.
Well, ice makers in refrigerators are probably the number one thing that goes wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And leak.
I completely replaced the ice maker. That's one of the things I did. And then I pretty well hacked the thing up. Kind of
renter's insurance?
No. Well, yes, we do. We do. Yeah.
Oh, good. Because if the thing leaks and destroys the floor, and the guy downstairs, his ceiling and maybe floor, you want to make sure
won't happen.
You're covered.
I'm not leaking.
No?
Everything is perfect. It is making these beautiful. I kind of look like I put down some aluminum foil in the bucket that it goes into, so I can see how much it's making, and it's doing about 5 cubes a pass. So, and that's what it should be doing, and they're nice, big, thick cubes, and it's kind of like I'm looking at transparent cat turds.
Well, now that I'm in an apartment, there's no ice maker in this refrigerator. You have to use trays. Mm-hmm. And I really miss that because in my last house, I had a great ice maker, and I agreed to leave the refrigerator there. I had a Gen Air. It was gorgeous. And French doors, the whole thing. And so the guy who bought the house says, I want the refrigerator. I said, yeah, okay. But here, no ice maker. And ice makers are really a nice thing.
Well, girlfriend doesn't like them. She makes her own with ice trays and then has a bucket of ice. I don't know why, because now the way this is making ice, the ice it's making is the same shape as the ice she's making in the trays and with the same consistency. First time in the 8 years I've had that refrigerator that I've been able to get it to make decent ice.
Yeah.
And it was by pure accident last night that I overloaded it and too much water came spilling out. You know, and I learned that if I adjust that, I'll get decent-sized cubes. So now I'm just sitting here.
Pretty soon you'll be putting in light bulbs.
Well, no, I replaced the whole thing that makes the ice.
I heard you. Maker. I listened to your thing, and you said you had some sort of special Allen key that you took.
It's not an Allen key. It was a nut turner, a 1/4-inch nut. Driver,
or it could have been a ball.
And that's all I needed. That's all I needed. That, and I needed a Phillips, which I have to adjust this thing, which I didn't know really adjust how much water goes into this thing. And I opened it up too much, and then it started spilling off into the rest of the freezer, and I had to clean it fast before it all froze the whole thing, you know. But anyway, so I it's out there right now making ice.
So now you have another profession.
This is what Jews become proud of when they accomplish them. I remember once my father years ago installed a new toilet. I don't know how he did it, but he installed a new toilet. And for weeks he was inviting friends over to see the toilet he had installed.
Yeah, look at the flush.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he literally installed the damn thing, you know. So I'm very proud that aren't you amazed that I installed an ice maker and I've got my refrigerator making ice again?
You know, isn't it a wonderful thing the internet where you can look up how to do stuff,
Yeah, I do that.
how
a
to
lot.
buy stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean,
know?
that's how I knew. The only thing is I hacked it up a little bit, the chute where the water comes down, because I was picking at it with a knife to kind of clear out there. Ice was getting stuck in there, and I got that all cleared out. I did it. Listen. If you want, I have a new profession now.
Right.
Listen,
Thanks, man.
$25. I'll come over and install your ice maker.
The Iceman cometh.
Yeah.
That's what I just wanted to say. I was going to say, does the Iceman come?
Yeah, well, if I'm watching porn, I hope so. Phil doesn't, but that's another story altogether. Where is everybody tonight? I guess Phil's back, so nobody wants to join the show.
Of course.
You know, and I don't want to sit here and argue with him for the next hour. I'm just too out of it for that, you know. But yeah, once we buy Greenland, everything will be fine.
Do you really want Greenland?
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool.
He's crazy. He's nuts. Has he done anything today?
He's going. He's losing it. He's losing it.
Do you think
You
he's
know-
doing this on purpose so that not to win the election, or is he just stupid?
I think he is getting frustrated that his poll numbers have not. He is the first president in the history of poll taking that hasn't gone at some point in his term over 50%.
What about with Republicans?
But that doesn't matter. They don't.
Of course, those are the ones that are going to vote for
They
him.
don't make up the majority of the voters out there,
Yeah, but the Democrats don't vote.
huh?
They don't turn out.
Yes, but the independents do, many of them, and the independents are the ones you want to get as well. We're being joined by Josh Wheeler, so we can have.
We can talk about dead cats.
We can talk about Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me see here. Let me do that. There we go. There's our panel of four now. But no, he is he's not doing well, and from what they say inside the White House, the stuff that leaks out is that he's really going nuts. He may be certifiable. And last night I said something. I probably drove you crazy when you heard me say it, Phil. I said that I felt that he should be put on trial in The Hague for crimes against humanity.
I think. Can you spell moron? I mean, you know, he hasn't done anything wrong, and
Phil,
all he's done is
please.
support the United States and consider us first.
Where's a razor blade so I can slice my fucking wrists? Phil,
So,
just based on the on what went down with the people, the kids, the Mexican kids or the kids and
Yeah.
you know.
Well, when your parents break the
will you
law-
let me finish, Phil? Will you fucking
can't-
let me
you shouldn't
finish?
Yell.
Will
It's
you
not
let me fucking
positive.
finish, Phil?
Yeah, as long as you stop yelling. I don't like this.
Huh?
I don't like that.
No, but I mean,
think it's-
I'm
I
sick
don't
and
think it's very
tired of it,
courteous.
Phil, that when I start saying something, you just interrupt.
I'm answering you.
That's not answering me. That's not letting me talk. It's not being respectful of my place on this show.
Okay.
Okay.
If that's the way you feel.
All I'm saying is that he should be on trial at The Hague for crimes against humanity, for the way these kids were treated and handled and how their lives are going to be irreparably injured by the actions that have been taken against them.
Can I answer that?
No.
Okay.
But Josh can. Josh?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but I see your point, I guess. I mean, I do think what has happened at the border is so far removed from traditional American values and just traditional, precedent of what's being done that it's out of bounds for me. But we have to. Everyone can make that decision. I mean, Phil can say, I don't think it's out of bounds. I think it's perfectly, within the lines of what we should be doing. And I think, but that's a matter of legislation, so that's a personal decision because all people believe in different, forms of punishment, different laws, different, ways that we should do things. So I take their point, even though I don't agree with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's, I just think that, and I wonder where the international court is where all this is happening. Brooklyn? Why is that funny?
Yes. Because, look, if Tony had a child and he broke the law and he was arrested, would his child go to the same cell as Tony? No. It would be separated. It would be awarded a state unless there was another adult that was, related or could take custody. Mm-hmm. And, so this is what happens. If Patrick decides to roll over to somebody's house and break in and he gets arrested, what happens to his child? His child gets taken away, and that's all that's happened to the people at the border, and no different than what would have happened to any American that broke the law and was arrested.
Okay. I still agree with Josh. It's not what we are as Americans. It's not what we believe ourselves to be as Americans, and it is not a positive behavior as Americans to do what we're doing. Okay?
And you still think that the dead cat in the box is alive because you didn't see it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if intellectual discussion bothers you, Phil.
That wasn't intellectual. It was elitist.
No, it wasn't elitist at all.
I was just going to say that.
Did you put on airs too?
I mean, the point that if a person is arrested for a crime, that they don't allow their children to, basically reside with them in jail while they're awaiting trial or whatever. I mean, that's perfectly true. I mean, an unarguable point, but there is quite a difference between, I've been arrested for, money laundering and I'm being held awaiting trial without bail and I can't have my kids in the cell with me, as opposed to I've showed up at the U.S. borders, asking to enter the country legally for asylum, and here is my wife, and here are my two kids.
That's not what
they say.
asked.
Welcome to. Yes, that is what's happening.
No,
I'm sorry. I mean,
at non-traditional crossings, they try to sneak into the country. They didn't come to a border crossing and declare that their need for amnesty. At that point, they would not have been separated.
Patrick has his hand up.
The separation, I look at it this way. It's Phil is right with if one of us were to get arrested, our kid would be taken from us. Now, the difference is...
Not in all cases, Patrick, by the way. Not in all cases, no.
You're interrupting Patrick, Big Al.
Okay.
Okay, so we would get our kid taken away. But because we are legal residents here, we more than likely have family to take possession of that child. Mm-hmm. When you're here fucking legally and you don't have other fucking families, what do you do with the kid? You have to put them somewhere. So, you can't put them in the cell. Mm-hmm. So now I will say this. The one part that has irritated the shit out of me with Trump and that whole situation is there seemed to be a fuck up on how to keep who belongs to who straight. That should have been rectified. But as far as separating them, too fucking bad. You break the law, whether you're legal resident or illegal, you're going to get separated. But legal or illegal, there should be documentation on who belongs to who. So, once you're going to get sent back to Mexico or Venezuela or wherever you're coming from, you can get back.
You know, I found out, Patrick, that I don't have you up here. Hold on a second. Let me get you on screen. I don't know why that happened. I thought
I was going to say that.
yeah, this is one of, as I say, tonight technically I'm channeling Jack Bishop now when it comes to technology tonight. So.
Alex, it didn't matter. It was still okay, the show. You could still, audio was in.
Yeah, I like Patrick to be seen because Patrick is such a cute visage. And he should be seen. I think where you're wrong, Patrick, on this is that, to begin with, this isn't a traditional criminal situation, okay? In fact, these are people who basically, because they're not citizens of the United States, have no rights. But what we do as Americans is we try to treat them with respect, and we're not.
Humanely.
Yes.
And humanely.
Yes, Jeff.
Well, I have two things I'd like to say.
Yeah.
The first thing is a number of these are 2 years old, maybe 3 years old. They can't even tell you what their name is, and what their parents' names are, mommy and daddy. I mean, and you can add the Spanish translation, but that's it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think with Trump wanting to really become kind of a Nazi, we should start tattooing all of these kids. I think. Don't you think that would be good for you, Pat?
Yeah. Well, put a number on their arm, right?
Yeah, get them one of those sleeves,
Yeah.
Yes, Tony.
Or tribal tattoo.
You know what doesn't make any sense? Oh, sorry.
That would make
doesn't make any sense? Oh, sorry.
And he ought to get like number one. Him.
Number one.
Right.
Yeah.
With a bullet.
What I don't get is
That would make him feel good.
when the kids are coming over, why are we even separating them? Because now they don't know technically who their parents are. So what kind of life are they going to have anyway?
They're not separating them now. Now they're keeping them together.
Common sense be to keep everybody together from the get-go?
Yes and no, but that was the law. And, the parents made a decision to break the law. And,
let's say the parents came. And
that's the consequence. If you make a decision to knock over a liquor store and you got a 2-year-old kid in the car,
but
guess what? You're going to jail and the kid's going into social services.
Let's say they come in and they're all together. Wouldn't you keep them together if you know the parents are right there? Say, okay, listen, keep this.
You don't even know that those are the parents.
First of all, Phil, not everybody who commits a crime gets their kids taken away from them.
If the kid is sitting in the car...
not everybody has that kind of situation. Secondly, forget about, hey, they're doing something illegal because this is kind of a different situation. This is more an immigrant. Will you let me fucking finish? Jesus. I give up. I give up. Just you talk.
Well, you say stuff that is so full of shit. How could you not answer it when you say such dribble? Okay, you want to say dribble? Enjoy yourself.
It's drivel, not dribble. Phil.
Oh, it's same thing.
Phil,
no, it's
It's
not.
got more saliva.
Phil, the thing is, though, let somebody finish their point. Even if
I know, because you don't let him finish, Phil.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. You let them finish it, and then retort from there. I mean, that's
All right.
the way. I mean, it's just the way it is, Phil. And the thing that and I've said this in the past about some of the stuff that's been brought up, and then you or I will try to refute something. The way that we can refute it is with documentation that the liberals read, that they read, versus something like, you're going to go to Breitbart. They're never going to buy it.
But what liberals read is always so slanted.
Yeah, but What do you think the shit we read is? What do you think when I watch Fox News and I watch those chicks, and I don't listen to them most of the time, but when they do talk, it's slanted.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you can't fault one side or the other. I mean, we're all full of shit that way. We all believe what we believe, and we're gonna gravitate towards what we want to believe or what we, what's more in our wheelhouse. So if Alec got something to say, let him finish it, and you can tell him he's full of shit.
All right.
I second that one. Can you let him finish, Bill?
Yeah,
please?
Jeff. When somebody quotes something that's either on Fox News or Breitbart or one of those things, do you immediately discount it as BS or the way I discount CNN or
I occasionally look at both. I got to tell you, today, I say not today, on Tuesday, but I'm talking about in the last 6 months or whatever, the stuff that's on TV, it doesn't matter which show it's crap. It's just, I just don't want to hear from MSNBC the same crap every day. So I just stopped listening to it.
But if you heard something on that was quoted from a right-wing site, would you immediately discount it, or do you? No.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Has Alex stopped pouting yet? No. Yeah. Put these on.
Him on.
Huh?
You're just making it worse.
Well, I don't know if he's listening. But hey, Josh, what about you? When you hear something from a right-wing website or a news show, how do you feel about it? Do you filter it yourself, or do you totally discount it?
I don't discount it. I wouldn't say I filter it. I would say I judge it. I mean, I listen to whatever is available, and then I judge it based on, what I perceive to be the facts, I guess. I mean, everyone has their own perception of everything. I mean, you can get into there are entire college courses dedicated to, what is truth, what is fact, so I mean, where they go over it for weeks. But I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things that you can take out of if you get some type of academic degree, in a field of study, like in the historical field, for example. If you don't agree with someone, obviously this is not news to anyone. You can't just say, I don't agree with that. You have to say why. Why? Mm-hmm. Where's your why? I mean, you have to have something. I mean, there are people in the historical field, just like all others, that as soon as I hear their name, I roll my eyes. It's like, oh God, I'm not interested in anything that dumb fucker could possibly have to say. But that's me. But if I were going to do that in a classroom, I can't say that. I got to put a face on it and say why. So, no, I mean, do I sit around and watch the Fox News channel? No. I don't really sit around and watch any of them all the time. I mean, Fox to me is a mouthpiece. I mean, I think that's what it is. I don't even think they would deny it, to be honest with you, if you asked them. And I have some problem with that, but in other ways, it's, in America, you can kind of do that if you want. But I'm not one of those people either that, I don't read the liberal media, because I'm not a liberal, I mean, I don't subscribe to fucking The Nation magazine and read an article in it, and then, oh my God, I'm going to be on fire about what I just read for the next 6 weeks or whatever, on some fucking crusade. I mean, I just take information in every day and put out what I think's best based on my experiences in life and what I've learned.
So back to Alex's thing where he said that Trump should be tried by The Hague. Did Trump break any laws when he separated U.S. laws when he separated children from their parents when they came into this country undocumented?
I really
So,
don't know the answer to that.
you know,
I know
but
one
if
thing.
yeah,
They say that, all the other presidents before him have never used that. They never used it, and he's the one that started using it.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And look at what a mess it made.
We didn't have as many coming across the border from all over South America.
Yeah, but this is a big problem. The people that are coming now, we've never had people from this country coming with this problem. They're killing the people over there, the drug cartels.
But they've been killing the drug
families, the
cartels.
children.
But
They're coming
Charlene,
here
do you
because they're
remember?
getting killed.
Do you remember the drug cartels lining up bodies on the border when Obama was president? There was hundreds decapitated heads and all sorts of things. The drug cartel was trying to intimidate.
Because you're ridiculous.
No, Patrick.
Yeah,
I got something that's a change of subject for you, Phil, because you're such a cop. Like that. What do you feel about the guy in Staten Island now? This is going to be a precedent-setting thing. He's going to sue to get his job back.
Which guy is that?
Yeah, the guy that they choked to death in Staten Island. He got fired, and it's precedent-setting. Now he's going to try to get his job back.
Was that the guy selling cigarettes?
Yeah, he was a heavy-set fellow, and he wasn't that healthy anyway. And he got strangled. And they said he can't, they don't like the chokehold anymore. And they fired the guy, which was precedent setting 5 years after they killed the guy. And now the guy's going to try to get his job back. That's like a precedent setting thing, this whole case.
But they said that he had no wrongdoing.
How do you feel about it?
Well, if you're not supposed to use the chokehold, and he used the chokehold, then
but I think, Phil, that came after he did the chokehold and killed the guy. Now they're really into
what do you think about that?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I know a guy that they use that, I'm really into art and stuff, and I was in the 80s, there was a guy, Jean-Michel Basquiat. There's a whole documentary. He was afraid they were going to chokehold him, Jean-Michel Basquiat. But there was a guy named Michael Stewart who they chokeholded. There's a whole list of people that have been killed by the cops in New York City, and Michael Stewart was one of them. And I didn't know him very well. He liked a girl that I knew. And I know he was a 98-pound, very frail guy. And he tagged a subway car, and they killed him. They strangled him with the billy club.
It's funny you mentioned that. The month I got hired at Richmond, there was a guy that was, they used the carotid artery choke in the jail. They choked him, but they actually crushed his larynx, and he aspirated on his own vomit and died in the cell. They put him in the cell. He was on the floor of the cell. I think he was drunk, resisting.
And what does that have to do with anything?
60 Minutes came, and it just so happens, and that's when Richmond outlawed the carotid artery chokehold. And so my whole career, which was 20 years, we didn't do that, and because you weren't allowed to. You had to use other forms.
Force.
Right. You had to use other forms, other forms of force or compliance to get the guy to do what you want. And the chokehold was
like putting these children in cages and things like that. This is excessively doing things to these poor people that are coming here for. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a better solution than separating these children from their parents and stuff. And it's just it's a mess what happened because he enforced that law.
Ray Renati did something on. No, I still can't see it.
And my thing is, why did he start with this immigration Trump? Was it that bad? Like Josh, you're good. More eloquent than I am. Do we need to have this stuff anyway, this big immigration push that Trump started? Was this necessary? All this Mexicans are rapists and murderers and all this. I mean, was that all necessary, or did Trump go crazy?
Well, he talks too divisive, though. He doesn't know how to really.
I mean, I know he doesn't know how to talk. That's one of his big problems. But we got another president. Would somebody have been doing this stuff with immigration? Was this really necessary to really crack down like this? I mean, couldn't we have found a better way to, do something with immigration, or was it necessary to go nuts like this? It's almost like we're like, no Mexicans need come in. Like, I'm Irish, and my family is always talking about that. They used to have signs, no Irish allowed, and no Irish need apply. And, back in the old days, they had to be servants to rich people and wash their clothes and cook their food and nanny their children and stuff like that. But I mean, now we don't even want the Mexicans in the country. You know what I mean? Sorry,
They said that about all.
I know
every the Jews, the
right.
Irish, the Italians, the Polish.
Well, not
every
the Polish, I never heard that. But.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Each successive group of immigrants met resistance from the ones that were already there. Is that right? No.
Well, I heard that they didn't let him build a hotel in Cancun or something like that, and he's got a hard on for Mexico now. Like the same thing with this woman in what country is that? That country the recent country. He's mad at the woman. She's nasty. That one.
Oh, Denmark.
Yeah, he's mad at them probably for something like that too, right?
Well, now Denmark has sold what was it's now the U.S. Virgin Islands. They sold that to the United States. So if they're willing to sell the U.S. Virgin Islands and they're losing $700 million a year, huh?
Somebody, I don't know, because you know how Phil is. Is he right about that? Somebody, or because I don't know what he's talking about there.
Am I right about the U.S. Virgin Islands that originally belonged to Denmark and were sold to the United States? Is what Charlene's asking.
Is he right about that?
Well, I'm not sure. But Phil, are you trying to say that about? But I think the problem with Trump, Phil, don't you have a little bit of a problem with the way he doesn't? That he's divisive how he talks, though. Like he doesn't really, like he never admits he's wrong about anything. It's like if somebody disagrees with him, then he tries to label them because that's the only way he can discredit them.
Tony, what did he say now that he's the chosen one? He's the chosen one.
Is that true? I don't even know.
Against China, he's the chosen one.
Second coming. Does it really matter what people say? I know that some people now say that words have effects, and he's the president of the United States, and that he should be careful of his words. But he's also the first president, or the first Republican, really, that is fighting back when he's attacked. Romney, they attacked him.
Who's mentally ill? He's not fighting back.
When they attacked Romney. Who's the one that just died? He was a senator, McCain. They attacked him while he was alive.
Start with the McCain thing, please.
Well,
I don't want to hear
these
that.
guys didn't fight back
when he was dead.
The hero, leave him alone.
But you don't realize when the left attacked McCain and Romney when they were running for president, they didn't fight back because they felt it was beneath them. Trump is the first one that actually pushes back when he's pushed. And the left isn't accustomed to that.
No, he just pushes any old way. And not when anybody even says anything. He's just ridiculous. He's insane. Look at what he did to poor McCain. You brought McCain up. That was ridiculous.
He was still making bad remarks about McCain while he was dead.
McCain ran for president. I didn't bring it up in relation to Trump. I brought it up in relation to how the left attacked McCain, attacked Romney, and they didn't do anything to fight back, or to push back.
I don't want to. Can I say something? I don't want to sound a sexist for saying this, but in my personal opinion, it has to do with McCain, and I could be wrong. And I would love to see a woman president or a vice president, but I think McCain picking Palin, who's a complete idiot, it sounds like, cost him the election. Let's be honest, Phil. If he didn't pick Palin, if he would have picked like Condoleezza Rice, he might have won. She was an airhead. She was literally basically he threw the election. It looks like. I mean,
McCain.
McCain is by picking her, that's throwing the election. Just like Biden, if he wanted to run, he should have ran 4 years ago, I thought.
I think he got bad advice on Palin.
It was almost like they didn't want to win that year. That's what it looked like. How can they sit in the room and say she's a good idea? He's a war hero. She's a pinup. Come on. There's no other strong women they could have picked.
I look at the way not only Romney gave up and McCain gave up in the last several weeks
I don't think McCain wanted it at that point.
Well,
that's why
what happened? He should have picked Lieberman. But what happens is, you ever see top athletes? The difference between gold and silver could be 1,000th of a second, and you just have to push to if you're gonna win the gold. And I think McCain and Romney ran out of steam, and they couldn't push through, and they gave up. Maybe they saw that they were losing anyway.
Here's the question I posed to you, Phil. This election, I think, is going to be very interesting. You ready? Now, I'm not saying Russia swung the election. Now, Trump, Alex, is right. This guy has a good economy, supposedly, under him. We don't know how good it is yet because, everything goes up and down a little bit. But whatever. Now, if Trump loses in a trounce, it may look like that the other election, if he can't win against, say, a weak Biden, say, then he could really say that might leave thought if he gets trounced that maybe Russia really did have a lot to do on the election because he should really win going away. If everything is as great as he says, that he's not hated in the polls, is he going to cry foul, or did Russia really have something to say? We just don't know about it because we can't prove it to a certain degree.
The news media can create a dialogue. Now they're talking that there's going to be a recession. So if you keep making this statement that there's going to be a recession, that we have all of these indicators. Sometimes it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Every Republican president, we get a recession. That's what I've heard. Every time we get a Republican, we get a recession.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah,
but aren't they cyclical? It's just that every so many years you get a recession.
But it sucks. I remember that. I lived through that last recession, and it wasn't fun.
It wasn't. That was a bad recession. With Bush, it was terrible after that.
Let's ask Alex. I'm ready for him to come back.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Where is he?
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Alex. I got my aide here to make sure you can get a word in.
Maybe if Phil apologized. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't think that's going to work either.
Well, if you'd like an apology, I'm happy to apologize. Unlike Trump, I won't interrupt you.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to work.
He might be mad.
No, I don't think he's mad. I think he's tired.
I mean,
sick and tired.
Oh.
This may be the last ramble tonight, folks.
No, we don't want that.
Let me.
Nobody wants that.
Well, I wasn't talking for about the last 20 minutes, half hour, I don't know what, and we got amazing numbers here of people listening. Don't get your ego up, Phil. Actually, they went down.
Well,
they went down. They went down to the lowest they've been in months.
Yeah.
Oh, the bubble got popped.
All right. Well, I thought maybe they liked when Alex was mad, and he had more people listening. But
no, I'm sick of fighting it. I really am. I'm sick of fighting it. I try to get a point across. I can't get a point across on my own program.
All right. And look, I'm sorry I interrupted you. I can make things better. I'll just go watch television and.
Oh, now you're going to play that you're hurt.
No, I am not pissed.
No, just continue with the Phil. Continue with the Phil Myers show. I'm enjoying not doing anything.
Okay, but I don't want it to detract. Why don't Patrick take it over for a little while?
This isn't my show. It's Alex's show. And the thing is, Phil, like I said 20 minutes ago or so, just let people finish their points. I mean, you don't need to come back with retort for them, even if you think it's ridiculous. I mean, half the time I sit here and I want to say shit and interrupt people, but I don't, because it's funnier when you let somebody that you disagree with and they sound totally ridiculous, you let them finish. It's the same as what they do for us. I'm sure there's shit that I say that most of the people here or that are listening think, what a fucking moron. But they at least get to laugh once I finish my point. So, I mean, at least extend that courtesy to everybody to finish their point. And then once they're done, then you can come back and say, you're full of shit, or, here's where you're wrong, or I agree with you. Because you might be surprised sometimes. I have with conversations where I think it's going one way, and it turns out I agree with somebody. You just gotta let people finish. So this is Alex's show, so I'm done off of my soapbox.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, the whole problem here is that there is, at least on Phil's part, no sadness for children whose lives probably have been inalterably changed and upended. And this is a pain and a suffering that they're not going to soon forget, and they're the innocent people in all of this. There's a show on AMC called The Terror. It's really a horror show, but this year they've chosen to have it take place in a Japanese detention camp, and the Japanese being detained. This was the last time we did something that was shameful, and this is not that much different than that. The only difference being, well, the same thing in both cases. Neither group of people committed any kind of crime. That you talk about, oh well, if somebody commits a felony, right, they're going to get their kids taken away from them. How about if they commit a what do you call it? Not a felony, but a misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor, you get a citation and you can be let go on your own recognizance.
Well, are these people being charged with a felony?
I don't know.
No, they're being charged with a misdemeanor.
No.
Yes, they are.
I don't know.
Yeah. And this is something that's going to affect those children for the rest of their lives. It's something that is so traumatic, especially to 1, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, that I don't think they will ever in their lifetime forget it. And I don't think it's something that we as Americans can feel very proud about, because this isn't what we believe ourselves to be.
Can I say something?
You go right ahead. It's your show.
When the Japanese were interned,
Ray had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. He's in a little circle.
I just wanted to say, I'm certain Alex is right. It is a misdemeanor. If they tried to sneak through, it's a misdemeanor. It's absolutely not a felony. That I know. And secondly, we're breaking asylum laws all over the place. Our own asylum laws. And I'm not saying Obama didn't either. I'm just saying we are doing that more so now than we ever have. So we are breaking the law. We are breaking our own laws. And if you want to blame Trump or somebody else, it's fine. I'm just stating a fact here. I'm not making a judgment. So I just wanted to get that down. It's a misdemeanor. If it's a crime, it's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony.
If somebody wants asylum, is the law that they have to go through a port of entry?
No.
I don't know. I don't know that, but
they can come in. They can come in any way.
It's a misdemeanor, though.
This is immigration law, right?
It is. If they don't come in through a normal port of entry, they're still asking for asylum. They got here for asylum. That was their purpose. Maybe they had to cross a river to do it, but they're asking for asylum. It doesn't change the asylum part of this. Well, you didn't come in the right entrance. Go down there, and then we'll listen to your claims of asylum.
Did that change? Because in Florida, they used to be, if a Cuban made it to the shore, they were granted asylum.
Well, that was
So
refugee status.
did they change that?
That was
They
refugee
changed the
status.
refugee status.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's no longer the way it is.
No,
That
no
if
more
they make it
refugee status, no.
to the beach. All right. I don't know whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. I can't imagine that they would hold these people and separate their families over a misdemeanor, which is something that you can cite and release.
You wouldn't
with a
think
promise
so.
to-
You wouldn't think so, but you also wouldn't think that we'd be separating families. And when we separated those families, we didn't do the proper paperwork to figure out which kid belonged to which person. I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes here, Phil, because this is a very sloppy administration. On another quick point for something you said, yeah, I really want to see this president buy Greenland. It's really a great idea, you know?
I never heard it.
Huh?
That's crazy if you're thinking about it.
Look at what he did with his casinos in Atlantic City. Look at all his bankruptcies. You want him to buy Greenland? Yes, obviously, Denmark is losing money on the proposition, and he ain't going to do better because he isn't the businessman who could turn it into a profit-making situation. Do I want to see him take over Greenland? If I were somebody in Greenland, I wouldn't want him to take it over because I'd be under his thumb.
Well, he says that it's strategically advantageous for the United States.
No, it's not. It never has been. In fact, Harry Truman tried to do it, and then he considered it a bad idea.
He's probably got the risk bought out. You know, Greenland and risk. You can put your. I think he's really stupid, Trump. I really do. I think he's just juvenile.
Trump.
No, wait a minute. He said yesterday that he was the chosen one.
Who says these things?
Who says things like that is a man who's delusional. That's a delusional statement. If I came on here this evening and said, a voice spoke to me and said, I'm the chosen one, you'd all think I was going fucking nuts.
Right. He's batshit crazy.
But I am the chosen one.
Come on, Phil. He's baby Jesus next. It's crazy. It's insanity talk. He's the kid whose mother always said, "Oh, you're great at everything." No, you're not. You're not great at everything, Donald. Your father's rich, and you inherited money.
Actually, quite the opposite. His father told me he wasn't good for anything.
Oh, he did say that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they sent him off to a military academy to get rid of him, so he wouldn't be around the house. He liked the other boy.
That's the one who killed himself.
The one that killed himself probably would have taken over the family business.
Oh, so he's got parent issues then.
Of course, he's got all kinds of issues, but most of all,
well, at least his mother's not up in the attic. At least his mother's not up in the attic and sprayed down with alcohol every day.
Yeah.
That's true. My mother hates his guts. She wants him to die in office, Alex. I swear to God.
I don't tell your mother that I share her sentiment, but then we get Pence. And
oh God, imagine that.
That we don't want.
She makes me turn the news. She says I can't watch this man anymore. He's disgusting. She won't.
Pence is part of the family. You know the family.
Phil's got his hand
cult.
up. I'm reading here, and it says for the first entry or improper entry, they can be fined as a criminal penalty and imprisoned for up to 6 months or both. So if it's under a year, that's a misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. But it says for subsequent offense, the person could be fined or imprisoned for up to 2 years or both. So that's a felony.
Yeah.
If it's over a year.
Misdemeanor, first offense. You just said it.
Yeah.
You think these people have been here 2-3 times? Come on.
Yeah.
Some of them.
No. Most
Give
of
me a
them,
break,
this is the first time.
They can't come all at once.
So people remove for a conviction of 3 or more misdemeanors involving drug crimes or both, or a felony other than aggravated felony, shall be fined or imprisoned up to 10 years.
Most of them have committed a misdemeanor. Okay? Get used to it.
And initially, so if they create, so they should get a ticket.
Phil, you're trying.
But they can't enter.
You're trying to parse this whole thing, and you're wrong.
But they're trying.
Phil,
trying
you said one time it's a misdemeanor. And in the case of most of these people, this is a first time.
But they're asking for asylum. So if they ask for asylum, you can't let them into the country because they hadn't come in legally. So you either hold them. If they didn't want asylum, they could go back to Mexico.
And you take their kids from them.
No,
How
couldn't
did
they
that
take their kids
there,
back?
there are parents who will never be able to find their kids again.
They haven't kept track of them. Oh my
Phil,
God!
That's how bad we were at this thing.
That's bad.
You know, if you're going to
That's
take an
not the
action,
honest
you at
one.
least
I go crazy.
better have the goods to do it right. And this wasn't doing it right. It was doing it all wrong.
No. They figured out how to do it right after they realized how to do it wrong.
No, they're not doing it right now, Phil.
Are they separate? Patrick has.
Yes, Patrick.
Even if they did fix it now, that doesn't. You're not gonna make up for how badly it was fucked up before. I mean, to me, not even being involved in the government and any of that would know enough that there should be some system that if we're going to intake, just like we do in the prison, if we're going to intake people and they have children, you somehow, because the kids can't speak for themselves, as Jeff had pointed out earlier, the parent, you take a picture of the child, you take a picture of the child with the parent, something like that, and then you've got a way to identify them so that when whatever the holding is that's over with, you can reunite the kids. I mean, there were many ways to do it that they just didn't. So now there are these kids out there that, you know, I mean, they may never find their families again. That's the problem I have with that situation. But then I go back even further. Why are we making it all the way to the United States when if the idea is just to escape a bad situation and the first safe country would be Mexico? So, you know, I mean, that's my overall thing. Why are we tracking all the way to the U.S.?
Because I think, Patrick, let's face it, Mexico has some very big problems with crime, gangs, and so on. And this is the very thing they're leaving their countries from. And they don't want to be in Mexico because that situation exists in Mexico as well. And that's the reason why they keep coming north.
Because they thought this country was a good country that was helping people like them themselves. That we took immigrants.
Listen, if I were looking for asylum, I would just get to the border and say, I'm not asking for asylum, but I'm asking to be able to go through here to get to Canada where they'll give it to me.
Right.
China looking nicer and nicer.
Yeah.
I've been thinking, Alex, about would I leave this country lately?
Well, I'm ashamed of this country, to be honest with you. I think that what we're doing and the way we're treating people is not the America that I was taught about in school. I was taught that we were very good to people who wanted asylum or wanted a better life and came here for that. You know, that's why my grandparents came over here, was for a better life. And they found a better life for themselves in the United States, and so that's one of the great things about this country and what we've been able to do in the past. But not anymore. You know, I mean, we have a president who, let's be honest about it, is racist, is an anti-Semite, is a what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, a misogynist, a sexist. I mean, he's all these things, and he thinks he can get away with it. You know, by telling me as a Jew that if I vote Democratic, I'm being a traitor to Israel. He can go fuck himself.
It's like he's trying to force you.
You know, and if you weren't bothered by that as an anti-Semitic statement, Phil, because that's what anti-Semites say,
he's passive aggressive.
Then you should be mad about that, if nothing more.
I agreed with him.
Alex, where did this all come from? Like, I mean, was this immigration thing a big issue?
Wait a minute, let me finish.
Got Trump as president. I mean, would it have been this big if we wouldn't have gotten Trump as president? This thing that immigration was such a big issue,
Mhm.
you know.
So, I should be loyal to Israel, Phil?
You have to do whatever your conscience.
No. What I'm saying,
conscience-
what he's saying is that Jews should be, what can we call it?
Supportive.
Supportive of Israel. And yet,
I think
when
they
you
should.
have had a couple of congresswomen who were Islamic and were somehow doing the same thing with their own people, that was wrong.
I thought that they were being
No, Phil. No,
anti-Semitic.
Phil. No, they weren't.
They said that the Jews, it's all about the Benjamins, that they bought the government, that they bought the
That wasn't what they
media.
were referring to. They were saying in this
They did.
country it's all about the Benjamins. Yes, it is all about the Benjamins, Phil.
Well,
That's why the
you know-
NRA has managed to keep guns legal,
thank God.
because it's all about the Benjamins, Phil.
Well, I don't. I think that the
Well-
statements by Omar and Tlaib are anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
They hate Israel and they want to see its destruction.
No,
even
they
the
didn't
travel
say. They didn't
papers,
say. They didn't say they wanted its destruction, Phil.
they won't even recognize Israel.
Israel won't recognize them.
Well, good. Why should Israel let people in that wanted
Because
to
they are
create-
Congress people of the United States, and they should be allowed in so they can see what's happening and investigate what's happening in Israel. And no congressman has ever been denied that, Phil, except for last couple of weeks.
Well, I'm glad they were.
Well, you're just throwing everything that America is out the window. And go ahead, it's okay.
No.
Yes, so wait a minute. Ray's got his hand up.
I just want to say Israel is taking billions and billions of dollars from us every year and then telling our Congress people they can't come over there. That's just wrong. It's wrong. I don't know how you could say it in any other way.
Well,
I mean,
what
we should be able to. It's just wrong.
you're saying it's all about the Benjamins, but on the other side,
It is much about the Benjamins on both sides. And I
now
want to say
we give money to
there
other
are
countries too
millions of
that
Palestinians
don't like us and that don't agree with
But
us.
we don't give that much money to any other country, not even close
Egypt
to this little
gets
plot
close
of
to-
land.
Doesn't Egypt get close to what Israel is getting?
All right, I'm done.
Somebody wrote on our chat room, More Faves is his name. It says, in Germany, Phil would have been a perfect collaborator.
Where are your papers?
Is Phil a little German somehow?
No.
Austrian, that's worse. Austrian and Russian.
But I mean, it's just not what America's about. And what's happened to these children is just the stories that you hear from psychiatrists and so on who've been meeting with these children is that they're
Poor kids.
Yeah. I mean, they showed that one crying kid a lot on TV a couple of weeks ago. And I'm sure if they had stuck a camera in a lot of other kids' faces, the same thing would have happened. Josh,
Yeah.
would you agree with me that this is not what America's about? This isn't what we were taught it was.
Yeah, I don't like the situation down there. I mean, I never felt this was a crisis to begin with. I mean,
That's
again,
what I was trying to say, right?
I argue things on policy. If there are people in this country that feel it was a crisis, then okay, so be it. We just don't agree.
Well, Phil talked
But
about the
now we have to decide, what to do.
Phil talked about the economics of this country and the fact that we might be going into recession, a self-fulfilling prophecy. What Trump did in the border was a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, he said, we have a problem at the border, we have a problem at the border. We didn't have a problem at the border, not like that. And
Right.
what he did by his stating it over and over and over again was creating the situation itself. And yes, I agree. I mean, you're going to have a recession if everybody's going around saying, "Whoops, there's going to be a recession." Well, then I guess there probably will wind up being a recession. But that doesn't mean there won't be one. And Charlene was quite right when she said that all the recessions that we've had in, I think, the last 75 years or so have all been under Republican watch.
Do you have you heard in the past Obama, Biden, and many other prominent Democrats saying that our borders are porous and that we need to secure our borders? Trump ran on the fact that he was going to secure the porous borders, and these caravans have been coming up in order to challenge that. Don't you see?
No.
Do you not want?
No.
Do you want porous borders?
Porous borders only happen because you are preventing people from coming in. If you have a way for them to come in, you're not going to see borders being porous, and in fact, we will know who the people are that are coming in. But because we've thrown this into the realm of being illegal and impossible, people are taking extraordinary circumstances to get into this country. If we simply allowed them in and said, we'll let you go through the process, then the borders wouldn't be porous. And by the way, there are enough jobs for them in this country because there aren't too many people who want to work, doing people's lawns and work in their homes and so on and so forth. So, our borders have always been porous that way. But I want to know what the difference is between porous and open for people to come into this country and to seek their fortune and to do it without feeling intimidated.
How many people a year does America receive legally? Do you know?
No, I have no idea.
I think last year it was 775,000.
I don't know why. I don't know why they're coming here because it's such a shitty country right now.
Well, they're coming here legally, and they're being between 775,000 to 1 million, I believe, are being let in.
How
legally.
many of them could be considered white, Phil?
I don't know.
Well, get me that statistic because
I always thought the Latinos were white.
Let me put it this way: if you want to come into this country, just come into this country and spend some time here, and you're Islamic, you're going to have a much harder time these days.
Yeah, and we had some issues. Something happened, according to Ilhan Omar, in 2001. Something happened. And now that something caused us to have to.
Was that caused by Islam? Was that caused by Islamics?
It was caused. No. It was caused by radical Islamics.
Saudi Arabians.
Okay.
Our allies.
Saudi Arabians, who we make ourselves an allies with.
Well, times change.
No, times don't change, Phil. They've always been that way.
I've been talking about the Wahhabis for 5 years.
Wahhabis have nothing to do with this. What has to do with this is a shitty country with shitty policies towards everybody, especially women, especially non-Islamic people. They are terrible, and they have caused a great deal of unrest around the world, and yet we kind of pat them on the back and say, okay, because you got oil.
And the Iranians have one of the worst regimes ever, and their support of terrorism is second to none. And that's okay. You want to let them have the atomic bomb?
Phil, our support of terrorism is just as bad.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, what do you mean it doesn't matter, Phil?
We're not.
Phil, shut up a second. Shut up a second. What do you mean it doesn't matter? What? We can be that way, but they can't?
Well, are we?
How many bad regimes
bombers into churches?
Yeah, but there are churches in this country, and at the behest of Donald Trump, who encourages people to go in and shoot people with guns in churches and everywhere else. This is a man who's given a sense of permission to criminals.
He didn't wind them up and push them
Yes,
into the
he
church.
did, Phil.
They made a
Yes, he
decision on
did.
their own.
Yes, he did.
They were full of hate long before Donald Trump came on the picture.
Yeah, well, you know, what's Donald Trump going to do about it? Nothing.
Well,
nothing.
We'll see.
No.
You know, he said he was going to do something. Now the news media is saying the NRA has gotten his ear, but I don't think he's beholden to them.
No, he said it, Phil. I heard him say it. It's not just the news media. He said it. I heard him.
What
He even mentioned
did
the
you
guy's
hear?
name. I heard him say, oh, you know, I'm not going to do it. You go look yourself. You go look. I heard him. No, I'm not going to sit here and quote what I heard him say on a video. You go find it yourself. Goodbye.
He walked back these checks, but I don't know that is it just wasn't.
And why did he walk him back, Phil?
Because he has an election coming up.
No, because he had a call he made and talked with the NRA. By the way, an organization that if I were him, I wouldn't put my stake in because they may not even be around by the time the election gets here.
Well, they get my $100 a year.
Well, they're going to run off with it somewhere because they're slowly going out of business, and people who are in that organization are leaving in droves. And these are people who were were part of the mainstay of the organization. They're leaving like crazy. So
I think that a lot of them were stealing. Wayne LaPierre bought $175,000.
He's not one of the guys that quit.
No, but he
well, there goes your $100. There goes your $100, Phil.
Right. These guys who quit over that type of.
Do you feel good about that, Phil? That your $100 went to giving Wayne LaPierre some suits?
Well, I'd rather give Wayne LaPierre some suits and not lose my Second Amendment rights.
No, I see. Okay. Oh boy. You know. Anyway, there's our theme song. Thank God. Wait. What happened? Oh, I've got problems here with the music. Okay.
Sing it.
Yeah,
there we go. I'm having some problems. Hey, I'm having some problems with this other machine. Oh, well. I'll hum the song.
Which machine is that?
It's another...
The trash can?
No.
Don't worry. It was okay. Nothing
yeah.
was that big.
Okay, well, you know, I could start the theme again, and then it'll go up to a certain point and stop. See? Okay. All right. I have to reboot the machine. It was doing all kinds of crazy, nutty stuff. So we could hum the theme.
I love you, Alex.
We could hum the closing theme, but and I don't have the music up elsewhere, so I guess
try this new age one.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll have to restart that machine. It's something went hinky with it. Anyway, thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate it. Josh, thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Tony. And thank you.
What happened to Jeff?
Huh?
Why did Jeff leave?
I
don't know what happened to Jeff. He just left. And, of course, our friend in the wheelchair, thank you as well. Because I forgot your name right now. You know, my mind's a blank. It's
Oscar.
Huh? Patrick. Darth Pat. Yeah, Patrick. Anyway, that's it. Why don't all of you give a big wave goodbye, and I will wave goodbye to you as well, maybe forever. Bye. Thank you. All right, that's it. The next up is the a show called The Intersection with a wonderful guy by the name of Jack Bishop. He will be here, and maybe I'll come back again tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. In the meantime, as always, you see there's no theme playing because if I start it, it'll go for just a little bit, and then it will stop, because everything on this machine is screwed. Anyway, we'll see you later, everybody. And, you know, as they always say, if you see her, tell her I love her. Okay? Bye.